Hey guys, welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. My name is Brian,
And my name is Maggie.
and we interview Asian entrepreneurs around the world to amplify their voices and empower Asians to pursue their dreams and goals.
We believe that each person has a message and a unique story from their entrepreneurial journey that they can share with all of us. Hi everyone, my name is Maggie. Welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast.
My name is Brian.
And today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Dominic Zhai, and here's his bio. Plans of becoming a doctor were suddenly thrown off course when Dominic failed the MCAT. And if you could fail while going the safe route, you might as well fail while doing what you love. With that in mind, Dominic booked a one-way ticket from Madison to Los Angeles to pursue acting. He managed to land a gig as Tang Wei's acting coach for a film in Hong Kong, but even that dream was short-lived, ending just a couple of weeks into the job. Taking things in stride, Dominic turned his side hustle as an SEO strategist into a full-time remote job while traveling to over 30 countries, reading, learning, experiencing. He's now the founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar marketing agency and a Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient. An unconventional path, to say the least, but it worked out. And by sharing life and career advice with the next generation of graduates, Dominic hopes to use his platform and its experience to encourage them to chase after what they want. Dominic, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow, that introduction that actually Nancy, who's I just told you guys before we started recording, but Nancy did a great job helping me write that. She's a much better writer than me, actually.
Well, thank you.
Now that you
Nancy.
read it, it sounds nice.
Just wanted to give a shout out to Nancy. That's a very clever and very inspirational bio. So thank you, Nancy.
Hey Nancy, you want to write my bio too?
She should make resumes.
Amazing. So
Yeah, so thanks for having me, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
of course.
let's jump right into it. We'd love to hear about your upbringing, where you were born, what your family was like while you were growing up, things like that.
Yeah, upbringing-wise, I grew up in Wisconsin. I was born in Madison, Wisconsin. Mom and dad were immigrants from China. I had an older brother. I'd say some of the things I probably remember the most is, or like the key highlights, the too long didn't read, TLDR, is my parents divorced when I was quite young. They had a pretty nasty divorce. It was not a good divorce. And it was very difficult for my mom to raise my brother and I on her own, more or less. So lots and lots of respect for her, and also really just any single parent mother, single parent father, and plus if you're an immigrant, it's like adds on like a whole nother level of complexity to just everything, because you don't speak English that well sometimes. Whatever, it's not, and the culture. So that's really the upbringing in terms of how I grew up, just hanging out a lot with my mom whenever she was not working, but when she was working or she was going to school trying to get like a degree as a nurse to ultimately make money to support my brother and I would go with her to the library, play SimCity. So, I mean, it's a pretty normal upbringing when I was very young. And then as I got a little bit older, my mom still was, she got a full-time job as a nurse, which is a good stable job. And her shifts were very long. She would work like 12-hour days. So that means I just had a lot of time at home. She never really had the time to look at my grades and stuff, actually. So it wasn't like I had this Tiger Mom experience. I actually played video games all the time. And I wanted to figure out how to build a better computer for as cheap as possible to be able to play more video games. So I would have more frames per second and stuff. So it wouldn't be laggy. So I actually spent a lot of time just figuring out, buying some computer parts, putting together some computers, and then also just playing video games. I got pretty good at some specific games, but that was the main upbringing, honestly, when I was young. That probably some of that stuff leads into some entrepreneurial stuff. Just I think probably it started there, just trying to make money on the internet, or buying computer parts and stuff, selling some stuff.
How early on was your entrepreneurial process that you could recall?
I think like many kids out there, I just just sell stuff on the side of the street. I sold Oreos on the side of the street and stuff. But probably mostly just probably the first exposure is just buying computer parts, assembling them, and realizing that I can make a profit if I just sold a completed set. to someone. So I just like made some friends on the internet and like sold it to them, sold it to some friends as well.
That's
That's
really
how I
cool to
started
hear, because growing up, like, I was not like you at all. I wasn't entrepreneurial.
Mhm.
I was actually your consumer. If you sold me Oracle for $2, I would probably buy it for $2. You sold me complete computer, I would probably buy the computer from you.
Yeah.
For me to hear this is awesome to hear, like, how entrepreneurial that you are at such a young age, you know? Yeah.
So, I know you mentioned, your mom is a nurse, and so you were, taking your MCAT, and we'd love to know, like, did that influence you to go into the medical field to take your MCAT? And did your mom have like a set of plans for you? Like, was she expecting you to go into the medical field to kind of follow her path, or did it just naturally happen that way?
No, there's no expectation at all from my mom or really my dad as well. Like, I mean, I spent some time with my dad, but like, there's no expectation to go to medical school. I actually started off college majoring in mechanical engineering, but I took some of the classes. I think I got to a class which is like the first like class that's like filters people out. I think it's called statics or something. And I was like, yeah, this just sounds terrible. It's like too difficult, like too math heavy. And then I was like, okay, let's just like find something easier. And then biology just seemed really easy because it was like compared to like physics plus engineering plus like calculus, like combined in like one course. I was like, yeah, this just sounds terrible. I wasn't ever like that good at math. So I was just like, maybe I'll just go like do biology, and then with biology I'll go a pre-med track because worst case scenario, at least like I'm going to be motivated to get good grades, and then worst case scenario, I have good grades. Hopefully I have good grades, and then I can like do whatever I want, even if it's not medical school. So I kind of like self-selected that. And also I was just like, yeah, like, Asian doctor. I was like, yeah, it's like normal, right? I should just major in that. So.
Yeah, I mean, did growing up in Wisconsin have an effect on you in terms of like owning up to your Asian heritage and your personal identity? I know you mentioned that.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I mean, like most of my friends were just very like Midwestern dudes from Wisconsin, like I grew up in a very, very like, people are just huge fans of like Green Bay Packers, the Wisconsin Badgers, sports. Just Midwestern. It was a very American upbringing, pretty much. I didn't really have many friends that were Asian. Pretty much all my friends were more or less white, I'd say. Definitely. I think like for me personally, like it was nice. I had an older brother who like who he's 6 to 7 years older than me, so it was helpful to have someone kind of like as a role model to like kind of see like how he navigated through. He was kind of like the guinea pig because I got to see him navigate through, like do all the dumb shit, like dumb stuff, like, and then I would just kind of learn from that to not do those things. But definitely identity wise, I mean, I felt sometimes out of place for sure. I mean, even going to school there at Wisconsin, I did, and I think that probably plays a pretty major role into like why I started my podcast and why I actually went into acting at some point for a few years.
Yeah, so let's walk up through your journey. You after failing the MCAT, did you have, I would love to know what your mentality was like after that. Did you have this period of time where you were like, oh, should I retake it? Or were you just like, okay, I'm done with this. I should probably focus on something else because it's not what I want to do.
Yeah, and some context is like I actually had really good grades in university. Like I had almost a 4.0. I think I had like 1B or something in 4 years. So it's like the MCAT, I studied really hard for it. It's not like I like just like winged it, I actually like really put 100% into it. Yeah. And then so when I got the result, actually on the day that I took the test, I knew I didn't do well. I knew it already because like I had to like go to the bathroom and like pee in the middle of it. And like with the MCAT, you get 0 time. It's like so tight on time. That was like, I got back. I took like a minute. I got back and I was just like already so behind on like the timer. And so I had to guess a few questions at the end. And after you guess a few questions, you're just like, I've kind of already like screwed this up because the margin of error is very low on the MCAT for like the points. So anyways, I wasn't that surprised when I got the result back, honestly. And then I think I got a 24 out of 45, which literally I think is like 50th percentile, So I was pretty bummed because, you spend 3 to 6 months studying for something. I even did like a Kaplan course or something else. Like, I was a little bit bummed, but I was like, yeah, maybe I should just like study, like do the LSAT, go to law school instead. Cause I'm less of a science person. I'm more of like a communication person. So I like bought a bunch of like LSAT books, and I sat at the library for like a day and I like tried to start studying it. And I was just like, no, it's not going to work. Yeah. And I also thought that I would have a better chance to go to like a really, really good university if I did law school, because I was thinking, I was like, okay, I have a really good GPA. And if I can just do fairly well on this, and I have a lot of extracurriculars from like med school, and I'm like a different applicant because I didn't study like political science and stuff, I was like, maybe I can get into like an Ivy League or something. I was like, that'd be cool if I could like go to Harvard Law School, because like everyone's like, it's like a running joke between my brother and I, and probably many people, where it's like Harvard or bust. It's like gotta go to Harvard. But it just didn't feel right. I just couldn't get myself motivated. So I was like, I'm gonna take a year off. I'm gonna apply to some programs, like Fulbright, Princeton in Asia, to go, hang out in China. I studied abroad in China earlier. So I thought it'd be good to like spend some time there, but I actually got rejected to all of those things. Like, so then pretty much I ended up graduating, and I was just like, I don't know. I just like didn't have anything lined up at all. Actually, I had like literally nothing. I just remember sitting at my friend's place that like they were gone for the summer, and I was with another friend, and like I was like cleaning people's houses for like $10 and like playing like video games and like making tacos all summer. I had nothing.
And what year was this, by the way?
2012.
2012. I mean, that's probably one of the rougher years to graduate. And
Yeah.
based off your story too, it's very relatable to myself.
Yeah.
I graduated in 2010 during like the whole recession thing. It's super bad.
Yeah.
Find a job. And I found myself just sitting there as well, like a living room, like my friend's living room. And I'm like, oh crap! Like I don't have anything lined up after college. It's scary, because
because a lot of other people had stuff lined up at least. But
it is scary. It's very So similar to you, like also got really good grades, but somehow like the economy tanked. Even you get good grades, they have no experience. You can't get a job. So you're like,
you can't get a job.
Yeah,
it's probably similar to people graduating now, right? I mean, this probably is not a very good time to like whatever. But yeah, I mean, so that was kind of it. I wasn't that nervous though or anything. I just kind of, I guess, I didn't really know what to do. I was pretty happy just playing video games and stuff for a while.
Well, I love how open you are, about failures and just, the setbacks and times where you didn't even know what you were going to do with your future.
But you're so successful now.
And so it seems
it depends on success too, like what way you define. But
but it seems like you're very open-minded, trying to get into the medical field. And then on your way up to during your journey, you decide to go into acting. And so at that time, did you always have like this desire and like passion for acting, or was it something that was like very, out of spurt?
Yeah, acting is interesting. I did acting since I was in high school. I did a bunch of theater classes. Throughout college, I did a bunch of theater classes. I did improv classes. I was pretty good at improv. And I was overall not bad at acting. I would say I was pretty raw. Like, I just didn't have enough life experience. Acting is really like very tied to life experience. It's like if you have more life experience, you're going to be a better actor. But because it's a reflection of life. But I didn't like, aside from that, I think it just kind of seemed like something fun to do that I was interested in. I had watched a lot of Asian Americans that started to surface in the media, not in anything mainstream, but I started to see it on YouTube. I remember I watched like some videos from like this guy named Kev Jumba.
Yep, Kev Jumba.
Our favorite.
Higa. Yeah, some of those guys, and I was like, it's cool. Like I really like what they're doing, but like I think I started to see I was graduating. The year I was graduating, it was like Harry Shum Jr. was in Glee, and he had no lines, but he was in Glee. So every episode, I was like, I hope he says something because that'd be really cool. It's like probably one of the like few Asian people on TV. in popular stuff. So I was like, it seems like the wave is coming. And I was like, China's getting really big in the entertainment industry. Like we're probably going to see a lot more Asian faces because there's going to be more market audience there. That's what I was thinking. So I was like, why don't I give it a shot? Maybe I'll be in like right place, right time. And also I think for like Black African-American people, like, I was like, maybe Asians are just like the next, like at some point people will realize that Asians have like buying power to like watch stuff and consume content too, the same as like Black or African-American people do. So like maybe that'll happen one day where there'll be more Asian people represented. So I was like, I should try to go there because I just might be in the right place at the right time. Hopefully be good at what I do too, but yeah.
I mean, I really love your can-do attitude. You're like, what? This is a passion. Why not pursue it? And you did.
Yeah.
So I love the lack of mental barrier that most people have, especially within the Asian culture too, because we tend to overthink a lot of things. And we think that since there's not enough reputation in like acting or Hollywood, whatnot, that we shouldn't pursue it. But that's not the case for you at all. So I want to understand, like, what was the thing that separated you, that helped push you forward?
I think I think a lot about stuff too, but also I think I'm pretty good at making decisions quickly. Sometimes you gotta just make a decision, but trying to think. I don't know. I think I just felt like the fact that there wasn't that many people yet meant that it's a good time to do it because you don't want to wait till something's already super saturated. So it's better to be it's a calculated risk. It's not like I thought a lot about it. I read the book, I read a bunch of books. I read at that point Malcolm Gladwell his books were really popular. So I had read like Blink, I read like Outliers, I read like The Tipping Point, and like pretty much I made a decision based off those books. I was like, okay, Outliers, like it's right place, right time. That was like one of the premises of that book. Like in the beginning, it was like, why are all the hockey players that go into NHL born in the same like 3 months? Because like at that point, like they before the season, they're like the most like they've aged, so they're like stronger than other people, and then they're more confident, and then it's like whatever. And then tipping points, I just felt like we were almost at the tipping points where like suddenly mainstream media was going to realize that like they got to get some more Asian representation. I think Sung Kang had started to get some representation as well. Randall Park as well, just a little bit. He was just starting out. I actually messaged all those guys. Before I moved to LA, I even talked to Randall Park on Facebook Messenger. I talked to Sung Kang. All those guys were super receptive to just like, I literally Facebook messaged them.
Yeah.
And they replied. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so while you were in the acting industry, what was your perception on, because I know it's changed a lot in like films and movies since like, let's say 10 years ago, right? And so what is your perception on, our progress on, starring Asian actors and actresses in lead roles right now?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the problem is that generally if it's a really big global film like Blockbuster, this is one of the reasons that I quit, was because although they did start to cast more Asian faces, I just realized, look, like the studios, they're not going to go to like some like totally unknown. I mean, generally, this might maybe be disproven already, but just like I just felt like they were more likely to cast someone that already had a big name in the Asian markets and attach them to a movie than cast a no-name Asian American person, because when you cast someone that already has the market potential, then you already are guaranteed like an ROI. It's a business decision. So when I realized that, I was just like, the chances are against me at this point, because unless I make it big in China, and I actually tried to, I moved to China for 2.5 years to go down that path, as I was thinking like that maybe is the route I have to go. Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question. Did that answer it? I don't even know.
Yeah. I guess my second part of the question is like, what kind of differences did you see between America and China?
Differences? Well, it depends on if we're talking like film industry and entertainment industry, or just on a just differences between the two.
Yeah, I would say film and industry.
Yeah. I think in China, well, first of all, in China is just the Wild West. It's like everything is connection based. Half the time you don't even need to audition. Looks is much more important than your skill. This happens in Hollywood, I'm sure, a lot, but I think for people to get roles in China, there's a lot of like backdoor stuff happening, right? Like sleeping with someone, with a producer, that type of stuff to get. I'm sure it happens everywhere. I'm sure it happens in Hollywood. We know it happens in Hollywood, especially like with a lot of stuff that happened in the last few years. But like, I think it happens a lot in the Chinese film industry. It's all about guanxi. Like everything in China is guanxi. It's just if you know someone, or if you can 出钱, which is you're the one that pays, you take out the money, you're producer, So that's a big difference. Also, they can make more mass market stuff. It's like you can just make mass. They just have so many people that are watching stuff on like the networks, the streaming and stuff. It's like you can make a lot of really like crappy stuff and like still make money with it. Just have some explosions, and drama, whatever.
Yeah, definitely. And all this experience too, it's pretty inspirational to hear that you hop from medical field to acting, and I feel like there's no barrier. So how'd you get into like starting like a marketing agency? Like what led to that part of your career that led to you meeting so many people around the world and living a lot of different places?
Yeah, I mean, like I think the thing with like China was I had helped coach a number of different A-list actresses. That Tang Wei and Zhang Yuqi. Like I worked a lot with Tang Wei and with Zhang Yuqi, I was helping coach her on a different movie and just hang out with her pretty much for like 4 months or so in her entourage. And she, Yuqi is like she probably was like one of the top 10 A-listers in China. So then I moved over to China to really pursue acting, but I also just needed to make some money too. It's like acting is very unstable. So I had always just done a little bit of consulting. One of my friend's dads, pretty much I was visiting one of my friends and his dad was there, and I like his dad. We talk a lot about get advice from him. I was like, I need like a job that like can like that I can make money and be flexible. And then I talked to my dad too, and my dad was like, well, you should do like web design and stuff like that. And then my dad also was like, he's like, I know like, cause my dad worked at a company and he was in marketing. So like he was saying how like they hire these companies to help them do like SEO and they pay them like $1,000 a month. He's like, maybe you should look into that. So I was like, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. So I talked to my friend, another friend's dad, all the dads, full of wisdom. And he was like, yeah, like, he's like, cause he had run like a digital marketing web design company. He's like, yeah, SEO is good. It's like, you don't need to really have, my concern of doing web development is I had no background in coding. So it's like, I was just like, even if I learn how to do web design, like what's my advantage? Or like, why wouldn't someone just go like hire some like kid and literally like some kid in India who probably is going to know how to do CSS and HTML better than I ever will. And at a much more competitive rate. So I was like, well, that's off the table. But SEO is something that I could just do in the US, and it was more, it was not so much in coding, but it's more strategic. So I was like, I have an advantage because I can't outsource that as well, right? So more or less, I had no experience, but I just I got some contacts. My dad gave me some contacts, got some other contacts from some other friends, pursued them, talked to them, and then just sold like small SEO packages. I was like, yeah, I'll help you with your consulting, like $500 a month or something. So I was doing that already for a couple of years, just making some money. And then, and I think at one point when I had really focused in on acting, like I really gave acting 100%. Like I even spent a ton of time and money going to London and doing drama school there, learning like Shakespeare. So it's like I really gave it like a fair shake. I like went all in, but and I think when I went all in, and after like a few years, I was just like, man, this is so unstable. I was like, this is so like, I just didn't see the end at the light of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel. And in addition to that, acting is something that is very not in your control. It's so heavy. Like usually certain endeavors are a portion luck and a portion hard work. I just felt like acting was 80% luck, like 90% luck and 10% hard work and skill. Some people might disagree with me, but honestly, like after 5 years of really dedicating to it, it's such a, like everything is such like a crapshoot. And there's so few opportunities and roles. But when you build a business, that's something where it takes some luck, but it's also just like hard work and intelligence can get you pretty far. So I could actually predict that if I spent the same amount of energy and time investing that into a business, I was like almost 90% success rate. I'm going to do really well. Versus acting, I could every single day spend all my time. And it's just like, I was like, I don't even know the things I'm doing are helping me work towards the goal. You're just like literally constantly throwing noodles at the wall, trying to figure out what works. So I was like, I'm just going to focus on my business. And then I fell in love with the business. I started growing it, doing a really good job. I had a knack for it. I was really good at sales. I'm good at talking. I'm good at building relationships. And a lot of those things came from doing acting. 5 years of acting training, when you do improv all the time, when you're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and you have to listen to people, you have to understand and see the subtext of what people want. That's all stuff that there's no better training for sales than that. And also running a team, leading other people. It's all the soft skills that I learned in acting. I carry that over, and then really that resulted in the business and the growth.
I really like hearing stuff like that too, because I feel like when you become an entrepreneur, like you draw on every single point in your life as the starting block or the foundation block for you to do other things, So when people tell me, oh, I wasted so much time doing this, I wasted so much time doing that, I never think it's wasting time. I think that you're building that skill set to do something better.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're only wasting time if people are just not giving it like a serious effort, like you can't like, I don't know if like you guys like swear on here, but I don't like to half-ass stuff, like when I did acting, I didn't half-ass it. When I did anything, I didn't half-ass it. Even when I did study for the MCAT, I didn't half-ass it. I just didn't do very well, So, but I learned a lot at each point in time. And then that helped really just come together and give the skill sets for something else.
And that's a huge thing too, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. The fact that you spend all your life focused on each thing, but you finally found a niche that you're finally good at. And then you have the work ethic and years of discipline and knowing yourself and building up your skill set. That when you got to your right niche, you blew up.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I always thought like the purpose of university and school, it's like I don't remember anything from it, but I learned how to like make deadlines and work hard, I guess, and how to get good grades. And also college and university and getting good grades, it's a game. It's like I could have had a significantly worse GPA if I didn't know how to play the game of like getting good grades in college. Like, I mean, for example, if you want to get good grades, make friends with the person that gets really good grades and gets A's on every exam, then study with that person. Because they're going to be like, oh, by the way, I have all these practice tests. I'm like, that's perfect. Let me get those. They can answer your questions. And then you get good grades. And then, or it's like, sit in the front row with the teachers. Like if there's a TA teaching the class, sit in the front row, go to office hours, because the TAs are just normal people. And if you have questions, they give you a lot of mad hints of like what's going to be on the exam. They're like, yeah, maybe you should look into that. It's a small extra things. And they have the ability and power, which I realized, to bump your grade up if you're on the cusp. If you're at like a 89.5, they can bump you to a 90 or like a 93, whatever. And that's the difference of an A versus an AB versus like an AB and a B. And that's significant when it comes to your GPA.
Absolutely.
It's all a game.
I mean, kind of curious too, like, as you're transitioning over to your marketing agency, what was that rise like? Like from the point where you start picking up momentum and start to think that, oh wow, this is be bigger than what I think it is, or bigger than who I am.
Yeah, and how have you seen it grow since you first started it? And were you working with partners, or were you just kind of like solely working by yourself?
Yeah, in the beginning, I think the biggest like thing I realized in the beginning, it's like every deal was just really, really important. It was like life or death. I was like, I got to close this deal. You put so much into it, and like the amounts are a lot lower, like it's like $500 retainer, or like, just some hourly work and stuff like that. The moment that I started to realize that it's like real is when we started to sell like one website for $50,000, and we did a really great job. And then we got like a $5,000 a month retainer from it. I remember in the beginning, one of my friends and business partners, he was just like, there was like a pitch call. Someone wanted SEO. And he was like, yeah, man, we got like pitch like a $4,000 retainer. And I was like, no way. I was like, I never charge that much. Like, I'd be like, let's just pitch 500. We're going to like scare them away. now every time we pitch retainers, it's like 5K, sometimes it's 30K a month, and it's just like, but also in the beginning, you just you have imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Everyone has imposter syndrome. Like I was like, it's not worth it. Why would anyone pay me $5,000 a month? That's ridiculous. I'm not worth that much. Now, when I do believe it's worth it, it's like, because I understand the value. It's an entirely different story where I can, with a very straight face, tell them that that's $30,000 a month to do these things, because I know the value that I'm going to create for them, and it's going to be way more than $30,000 a month. Mm-hmm. So that's when you kind of realize it, and I think it takes some time to realize that. It's something inner where I think the shift of not feeling like an imposter, mm-hmm. and when you don't feel like an imposter anymore, I think you've started to become an expert. Maybe you've put in 10,000 hours, and that's when it starts to get real and everything becomes easier, because everything just falls into place.
Yeah. Would you say you have like a set of advice for aspiring entrepreneurs to kind of get over the imposter syndrome, or is it something that you kind of just fall upon?
The imposter syndrome. Yeah. I think you have to really confront every single situation that makes you a bit nervous, mm-hmm. not just in your work, but in your personal life and stuff like that, things that give you some anxiety. Like, acting class was so scary. Trust me, going up into acting class and a bunch of people that were way more experienced than you, that work in the industry, and putting up your scenes and your arts and just being judged. Like pretty much you're literally just like emotionally naked, like so vulnerable, just like everyone's just judging you. Mm-hmm. That's not easy to do. And then you're listening to an acting coach that you respect tremendously critique you. So for years of my life, I was constantly just like in some state of nervousness, performing in front of other people. I was never like a great public speaker. I was very shy, extremely shy. And then, but also by doing those things, you realize that you always come out alive, and hopefully you come out alive. And if you do, then it gives you the confidence to really not feel like an imposter. I think that's just a balance, right? Once you start having confidence, you don't feel like an imposter anymore, because you've already addressed the issues that are making you feel like an imposter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Really great advice. Yeah. Yeah. So we know that you've been traveling a lot. We know that you've been in China recently, in Europe recently, and now you're living in Puerto Rico. And so we'd love to know, what made you go out to, China, Europe, and what made you move out to Puerto Rico for the time being?
Yeah. So moving to China, I was just thinking, I just got distracted for 1 second, because I was just thinking, as a podcast host, like, oftentimes I'm like, some people talk way faster than other people. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I wonder if I'm talking way fast, because I had this one guest on, Bing Chen, mm-hmm. and he talks so fast. And I was thinking, like, I must be talking very fast right now too. Mm-hmm.
No, you're good.
But I don't know. It's just, I think I'm just excited to share a lot of stuff.
We're excited to hear your story too.
But, so you mentioned the path, like going to China, Puerto Rico, traveling through Europe. What was can you repeat like the question? Because
I just love to know. You've been traveling so much, and we know that you've been traveling to over 30 countries. And what brought you to, these countries, and what brought you to Puerto Rico to live?
Oh, right.
Right now.
So, for Europe, after China, I just had nowhere to go. I had no home. I was just like, I'm not working in this industry anymore. I don't like living in China. I don't like living in a place where it is so smoggy that I can't even go outside without feeling like, it's like one day when my friend came to visit, and there's like this like app that tells you the quality of the air. Mm-hmm. And I just remember we went outside, and he looked at the app, and there's like different levels of like, under 100, it's like, smiley face, like 200, it's like frowny face. I just remember he opened it one day, and it was just a deathly skull. It was literally a skull, and it said, "Do not go outside," because like the air quality is like 800 or something. You couldn't even see. I was just like, I gotta get out of here, because I was like, it's just making me so depressed. So I just left, and I was like, let's just travel through Europe. I'll work as a nomad. I lived in Berlin spend time in London. I really loved London. I love theater. I love watching theater, so it made a lot of sense. But at some point, I think there's like diminishing returns to travel.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be very focused on your career and work and even personal life when you're always moving from place to place. You only get you're unable to get deep into something. For example, let's say I wanted to get really good at jujitsu.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to do that if you're constantly moving from place to place, finding a new gym.
Right.
And then also relationships. Let's just talk about friendships. The depth of the friendships that you make are very shallow, because no one's going to invest in emotional energy and time into becoming your friend if you're just going to bounce. And I'm not going to do it either, frankly. Mm-hmm. So everything becomes shallow. Your relationships, the things that you want to get really good at. And so then I was like, I really want an end to this. I want to just like be in a place and stop moving around. So then Puerto Rico naturally came up. Puerto Rico is actually, a few people know about this, it's becoming more popular. Puerto Rico is a territory of the US, and that means that they get to set their own tax rules. So as a result, Puerto Rico set their own tax regulations where if you're a resident here, they set their own, you don't have to pay the federal tax. Puerto Rico has their own tax. Mm-hmm. And that's really attractive for people that have their own companies or their investors to move their companies here, because you get a ginormous tax break. And what's really great about that is, A, you save more money because you're not paying as many taxes. B, for a startup or a smaller company, by saving like, let's say 20% more of your profits, you can reinvest that into the company without getting any external investment. And it's a lot of money, and then it helps you grow a lot, right? So as a result, I've been able to really spend a lot more money creating new jobs and hiring people, because I'm paying like 20% less tax or something than in the US, So that's the reason why I'm here. And it's a nice community, I can't complain. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what type of advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur? Because we have a lot of people in AHN, and we've actually interviewed a lot of people who are in the acting industry, in marketing, in SEO, and would love to know what type of advice you can give to aspiring entrepreneurs in one or the other industries, or just in general.
I would say just don't. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I think there's the things that probably everyone will say, so I don't really need to say those things again, like taking risks, like reading books, reading self-help books, reading other things. I think probably one thing is just making sure you have like, people really glorify like not sleeping and working so hard, pulling all these all-nighters and like all this stuff. I don't think it has to be like that. I think Gary Vee really glorifies that. And he's like, I worked my face off for 10 years and nothing happened. I got nothing. It's like, are you going to work your face off? Work your effing face off. I'm just like, you have to work smart too. You can work hard, but work smart, be really adaptable. Mm-hmm. But also just as importantly, don't forget that like a lot of times, as an entrepreneur, you're making sacrifices, and those sacrifices sometimes come at the expense of your personal life and other things. But just make sure to nurture your friendships and your relationships, and don't forget about those, because I don't know yet. I'm only 30, but most people, from what I've heard, say that your community and your friendships are probably one of the biggest contributors of happiness.
Yeah.
Even if you have a ton of money in a company, like if you don't have any friends to share that with, like, it's kind of lame, I don't know, maybe, but I think it'd probably be lame. But yeah, so just make sure to still spend time with friends, family. Don't just go crazy with like thinking that you have to like work so hard. And also people tend to like fall in love or like really glorify like working so hard that they can't do all these things. And a lot of that stuff is just like, you can actually run a business and grow a business pretty well and still have like a life too, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it comes back to perspective, mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're only limited by what you think is possible. And a lot of it is just breaking the mold of all these other people of what your life should look like. If you can dictate a life that's well balanced, be able to grow your community, grow your business, and have a well balanced life while being successful, you can. It is possible.
For sure. I think it's possible. I mean, look, I grew the business and I was doing two things at once actually for a long time. I was doing acting, I was traveling the world. I was still like more or less finding free time to do whatever I wanted, but I would just get the things that were important done, but don't forget to live your life too. 20s is a really fun time. And I'm sure 30s is too. And if you're, it's always a fun time, but just like gotta enjoy life a little bit too.
Come back to your 20s. What's your favorite country that you visited so far?
Well,
besides London, because I know you mentioned you like London before.
Man, every single one is so different. But I can tell you that recently I've really fallen in love with France because first of all, my girlfriend is French, so I spend a lot of time there. And when you start to spend more time in a place, and you start to be able to take some classes and understand the language. And like see the way of life, hang out with her family. Like we just got back from the south of France, and hang out with her family. Like I would hang out with her dad, and we just like do like Aperol, they drink like they have. It was just really relaxed. It's like they just take more time to like hang out, and it's a slower pace of life. And I really like that. Like we'll like have a drink beforehand, and the food is so good. Yeah, the food is incredible in France. It's literally incredible. So I would say recently that's probably my favorite place I've been.
Yeah, we like France a lot too. We actually were in Paris and London a week before the U.S. shutdown.
Yeah.
So we got back.
You got back. I was there as well, but I did not get back in time. So I just stayed. So I stayed in a Airbnb.
Wow.
Close to the Louvre in Paris for 3 months.
Oh, jeez.
Didn't go outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very romantic place.
It is.
It's so beautiful. I of all the places I've ever been, I don't think anywhere compares to the beauty of Paris. I will say I spent some time in Seoul, and that's a close second. Seoul is so cool. Like I just like the people there, and I like how they do things. And I like the culture, and I'm sure you guys know food is amazing. So
yeah, we were also in Seoul as well, and we love the culture there as well. And we were talking to other people saying how it's like extremely safe and
that's so exactly right.
But when you come back to America, it's like your spidey senses go up, and you just have to
it's so just the people. It's so safe, and
exactly.
I don't know, everything's just so like nice there, and I don't know. I just like Korean people, I guess. I'm not sure.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast today, Dominic. How can our listeners learn more about you on social media or your website, or hear about what you're currently working on?
Yeah, also just check out my own personal handle is Dominic Zhai. So Dominic Zhai on Twitter, Instagram. That's I just made a TikTok. Made my first video.
Nice. We're also TikTok. Add us.
Oh yeah, I will. I like the platform. It's so engaging. Like it's well designed. But also, the podcast is Why You Know Doctor. So you can go. We have a Instagram, which is WYNDOCTOR. So why you know doctor, the abbreviation, and the website whyyouknowdoctor.com. I definitely check those out. But I think that's really the core of it.
Awesome.
Great. Awesome. So we will leave all of those links in our show notes. It was incredible hearing your story, Dominic, and just wanted to thank you for coming on today's show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hopefully, if you guys visit, if you're in Europe again, I'll be in Paris quite a bit. We should, if just stay in touch. If you guys are there, we'll hang out.
Yeah, sounds great, man.
Love to meet up sometime.
Yeah, thank you, Dominic.
All right.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Hey, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the show.
We would like to get to the top 10 on iTunes, so be sure to leave us a 5-star review.
We release an episode every single Wednesday, so stay tuned.
Thank you guys so much.